Okay, we're going to talk about the planets of the solar system and a lot about space. And you know, I like Snoopy. A lot of people know that. I like Snoopy. And he likes to pretend he's an astronaut. And actually, Snoopy's already been to the moon and back a couple of times as part of the Apollo and now the Artemis mission. So Snoopy has taken the new rocket already. But let's talk about the universe. And the universe is everything that's in space. Everything that composes, everything that we can see, that we can observe is called the universe. All the galaxies, all the solar systems, all the stars, all the planets, all the nebula, everything is in the universe, the observable universe. All right, the next thing that we have within the universe are galaxies. There are a lot of galaxies, maybe billions of galaxies, maybe more than that, in the universe. All right, and a galaxy is a very large group of stars, gas, and dust held together by gravity. And gravity, that is very difficult to define, but it makes sense because it's a strong, invisible force that pulls things to the center of a planet or star. It keeps things from floating off the earth into the sky. It's a force that holds everything actually together. It holds the universe even together because we think the universe is probably spherical in shape and everything is being pulled by gravity. And we could talk a lot about that. But gravity is important to knowing how things stick together. Gravity holds things together, holds things in orbit. Even these galaxies, the reason why they spiral like they do is because of gravity. All right, the next thing that we have is the solar system. Solar system, a star and the objects that orbit it. So for our solar system, we have a star called the sun, right? And the planets orbit, and the dwarf planets and even asteroids rotate around the sun in an orbit. So what is an orbit? An orbit is a regular repeated path that one object in space takes around another one. So there is an orbit around the Earth. The moon orbits around the Earth, and the Earth orbits around the sun. What's the next thing? A star, right? A star is a shining ball of gases, such as the Earth's sun, usually seen in the night sky. It's seen in the sky every day, right? We see the sun. The sun is what lights up the earth and lights up the moon. That is a star. The sun is our star that we orbit around. Matter of fact, 99% of our solar system, the sun is the mass, 99% of the mass in our solar system. That tells you how big the sun is. The sun is a star that is very hot. The warmth and light keeps plants and animals on Earth alive. The sun is the center of our solar system. So this is our star called the sun. And then we have planets around the sun, and that is a large round object that orbits a star. And the star that we orbit, we call the sun. And planets, they don't have to be that large, but they do have to have an orbit. All right, there are some, though, that are too small. And if they're too small, if they haven't cleared their orbit, they're called a dwarf planet, and that's a small planet. These are the different planets. I don't even know how to say these really. Ceres, Pluto, and that's probably not pronounced correctly because there's a star called that, and Hamala, Makey, Eris. I have no idea how to pronounce those. Look those up in a dictionary. But they're all dwarf planets. The one that you really know is Pluto. Pluto is a dwarf planet. Simply the one thing it needs to do that it doesn't do is, quote, clear its orbit. Its orbit is not clear, so it is a dwarf planet. And another thing we have to discuss is the atmosphere. The reason why we're able to live on this planet is because of the air we call atmosphere. We got the exosphere, the thermosphere. What's that next one? I can't read it. And then you got the toposphere, stratosphere, and the other one's a M. See, don't even know. But those are the different layers of the atmosphere on our planet. Okay, and this is very important to us. Without atmosphere, we cannot protect ourselves from UV rays. We don't have the weather. We don't have the rain. We would be like the first planet in the solar system closest to the sun, called Mercury. It's the smallest planet in our solar system. And I'm not talking about dwarf planets. I'm talking about actual planets. It's the smallest planet. Of the 8 big planets that orbit the sun, it's the smallest and closest to the sun. Mercury is about the size of our moon and gets very hot at day and very cold at night. And part of that is because it has a very long day and a very long night. The next planet, where is Venus? Venus snuck out of there, right? Venus. Venus is the next planet, not Earth. Venus is the hottest planet in our solar system. Most of Venus is covered in lava, hot rock that comes from volcanoes. You can see Venus at night. It looks like the brightest star in the sky, and it does. It's close to the horizon. It's called the evening star, sometimes the morning star, but definitely the evening star. But sometimes you'll see it early in the morning. Earth is our home and the only planet known to support life. Most of the Earth is covered by oceans. That's right, and only 3% of the water on Earth is fresh water. The rest is salt water. Mars looks reddish because there's a lot of iron in the rocks on the surface. Mars has 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos, which are Greek, named after Greek gods, which most of the planets are. All right, and the next one is Jupiter. Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system. All the other planets in our solar system could fit inside it. It looks cloudy because it spins very fast, pulling clouds into bands around it, all right, around the center of it. All right. Saturn has thousands of rings that are made up of bits of icy rocks, some as small as specks of dust. Saturn has at least 53 moons. This must be pretty old because we're already beyond 10, so we're already up in the 60s. But as the telescopes increase their ability to look into the darkness, they're able to spot more moons. So it's no telling how many it really has. And some of them are very small. Uranus is tipped onto its side and is the coldest planet of our 8 big. Is it really the coldest? I thought Neptune was the coldest. I'd have to look that up. All right, but it has at least 27 moons, but Uranus is on its side, so it rotates like that. It also has some rings, very stormy, but I don't think it's as stormy and cold as Neptune. I think Neptune is the coldest. I think about 200 degrees, minus 200 degrees Celsius, if I remember correctly. I'm not exactly sure. We're learning more about these planets, so don't think that everything's settled. There's more things to learn about these planets every time. Like Jupiter, Neptune is known as a gas giant, one of the 4 gas giants. Wild weather with winds more than 1,000 miles per hour. It takes Neptune 165 years to travel all the way around the sun. And that's right. It takes a long time to make an orbit. And the winds are about 2,000 kilometers per hour. It's called supersonic winds. Very interesting planet. Some of the rain on these planets are really amazing. So you need to go check that out. There's a lot to learn about each one of the planets. One thing that we kind of skipped over, we talked about moons, but the moon is a natural object that orbits a planet. So we talked about Jupiter has over 70 moons. Saturn has over 60. Mars has 2 moons, and the Earth has 1 moon. And our moon is so special. We really couldn't live here without the moon, without the size, without the orbit. We are in what they call a Goldilocks orbit. It's the perfect orbit, perfect tilt. But the moon also is the perfect size for us to have waves on the ocean and to circulate the air and have storms and rain and wind. All of these things are caused by the gravity pulling on the earth. And it's really, we're here at a perfect time in history for us to receive all the benefits of the moon. And our animals depend on the nocturnal phases of the moon. A lot of things depend on the moon. We're very dependent on our moon. And the moon has 8 changing views of the moon as it orbits the earth: new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full, waning gibbous, last quarter, and waning crescent. So we have all of these different phases that the moon goes through, and each one of these helps us with our calendar and helps us, like I said, with just to stay alive. We really need the moon to stay alive. And most people think the dirt from the moon came from the earth in the past, that the earth and moon were actually one bigger planet, and something hit the earth about maybe the size of Mars and split the earth and moon apart and created 2 different planets, or 2 different bodies of soil. So we may even find fossils. Some people believe we'll find fossils on the moon. Okay, so we didn't talk about satellites, but the moon is a satellite. Some of your science books will say that the moon is a satellite because it rotates around the earth. But there are spacecraft around the earth called satellites. They orbit the planet. They're filled with equipment to do jobs such as tracking weather, making maps. A lot of our cell phone, TV, different things come from satellites. One of the ways that we're able to launch things into space are with rockets. And in the past, I've talked before about the space shuttle program. We don't use this program anymore. This is obsolete. But for a long time, we launched in the back of this ship, we launched satellites and other equipment. The space station, we launched those things from the space shuttle. Now we're using rockets again. We're back to the rocket idea. Another thing that we use to look into space, and the way we were able to find some of the planets, were with telescopes. And this is a piece of equipment usually shaped like a tube that makes faraway things look closer. And we have better telescopes now. Matter of fact, your camera is probably better than what the scientists used in the past. Scientists who look at the stars, we call them astronomers. They study space, they study stars, nebula, all those different things. We call those astronomers. And then someone who travels into space, we call them an astronaut. One of the things that we didn't talk about in our solar system is an asteroid belt. These are belts of rocks. They look like meteors. We call them asteroids because they're actually in an orbit, in a band, and we have a few of these bands in our solar system. Meteor is actually a rock that comes into the atmosphere of the Earth. Okay, so once it comes in, we call them shooting stars. Once those rocks, those asteroids, enter into our space, we call them meteors. Another thing that you see that's very popular to look and see in space in our solar system are comets. Some of these take 50 years, 100 years, maybe 1,000 years to go around the sun. As they go around the sun, there's melting and gas, and it makes a tail. And so some people call them a star with a tail. Space object with a large orbit around the sun made up of icy gases, rocks, and dust. And the last thing we'll look at is called a constellation. And that's the pictures in the sky. There's 88 of them, it says, that make up pictures in the sky. And we like to look up at the sky and see the different pictures in the sky, maybe like Orion, maybe the twins, Leo. There's so many. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to go back and review, and I'm sure there's some things I missed, but this is kind of a quick overview. Have a great day.